Greetings folks, I'm Guy Allen from Unique Cars magazine. This of course is Mark, Higgins, all of those things.
Morning.
Good evening, morning, whatever it is. Yet again we're at Shannons.
We are.
Okay, so I did look at the stats. There's something like over 200 lots, around 200 lots, something like that.
Over 200 lots.
130 cars.
Yes.
38 motorcycles.
Some very interesting ones too.
Some very interesting ones, yeah. One of the highlights is a Lexus LFA.
Yes.
You know more about them than I do. 2012, estimate around the $1 million mark.
Yes.
Tell me more.
Well, only 10 of them came to the country.
Right. Okay.
And not a lot were built in the first place anyway. Jeremy Clarkson called it the greatest car he's ever driven.
Which is big call.
It's a big call because he did it on the show and it went to air.
Wow.
So yeah, a big call. They say that Toyota lost money on everyone they made, but they did it for the simple purpose of showing their engineering prowess and their skills and everything like that. Got an amazing V10 engine and it just, the wailing exhaust is just worth the entry price alone, I think.
Oh, okay.
It's a beautiful car, like, you know, and a real collector's piece. It's 3 or 4 decades on from the Toyota 2000 GT in that respect.
Yeah, okay.
You know, and
yeah,
that was another
point.
car that Toyota put together to once again show off their engineering expertise and skills.
And coincidentally, another $1 million car.
Absolutely. This car and this pose should be familiar to many of you. It is, of course, the Tirana XU1 that Peter Brock and Doug Chivers drove at the 73 race. They were leading at the time when Doug Chivers was told to go for maximum laps with the car. He ran out of fuel on the way down Conrod Straight, rolled up into Pitt Straight. It almost came to a halt. Doug got out wringing wet after a long driving stint and had to try and push the car up pit lane to get it to the pit bay so Brock could take over and they could refuel the car. Subsequently, they lost the race to Moffat and Gagan in the XA Falcon. So Peter then went on in 74 to drive this car to his first Australian Touring Car Championship, because by the time he'd moved to the SLR 5000 by about round 6 or 7, he'd already secured the title in this car. So it's an amazing history of Australian motorsport. It's up for grabs and an estimate of $900 to $1.3 million.
Okay, I've gone for a safe bet. An XY GT Ford, kind of like money in the bank these days.
Absolutely.
This one appealed to me for a whole bunch of reasons.
Go on.
Firstly, who puts a vinyl roof on a GT performance car? This is so 1970s. You've got to have the full 70s muscle car package, haven't you? So,
You do.
351, most critically, 4-speed manual. But the other thing that got my attention was it's a one-family car.
Yes.
Okay, which isn't bad. That's since new.
Yeah, that's...
It's not restored, and you just assume when you see a clean GT that somebody's been through it, spent the $100,000, because that's what it costs to professionally restore something like this.
At least.
Oh, plus, you know.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's actually original, so we're told, and it's in pretty good shape. There's a couple little things you tidy up, but you know, you wouldn't be embarrassed to take it to a car show right now as is.
Oh, exactly.
So, and the estimate's about the 170 to 200 mark,
Yep.
which is, you know, that's where the market is. Money in the bank cars.
Yes.
Porsche air-cool early 911. That's pretty much sums it up at the moment, doesn't it?
Oh, totally.
These things took off in a massive way about a decade ago.
Yes.
Now, if you're going to have one,
Yes.
I reckon these early ones, without all the wings and you know,
so
waving their
with
arms
you.
about, these are so pretty. They're such an elegant looking car.
They are.
Now, you know a lot more about Porsche than me. Tell me about this one.
Okay, this is the Tangerine, which is the hero colour. So
Right.
tick to start with.
Okay.
It's a 1971 911T, one of 19 that came into the country that year. 2.2 litre 6-cylinder engine, same engine as in the 911S, the sportier one. This is the T version.
Yeah.
5-speed manual, so it's got all the right gear in it. It had a resto in 2000.
Right.
And as you say, it's just a lovely safe bet.
We're a little outside our usual wheelhouse,
We are.
but there's reasoning. There's method to our madness,
Yes.
which doesn't happen often.
Exactly.
But how old is it?
99 years old.
Okay. Rolls-Royce,
Yes,
Park Ward body.
yes,
Park Ward was one of a number of coach builders that were favoured by Rolls-Royce customers. 7-seater, as we've discovered,
yes,
with a boot in the back for the kids.
yes,
6.9 litre inline 6,
yes,
4-speed.
yes.
So actually, really, but high mechanical spec. This thing, I reckon, once you wound it up, would do terrifying speeds.
I know.
Now, the other one we need to talk about briefly too is the 1928 Auburn Speedster.
Yes.
Which is just beautiful. That's got a slightly smaller 8-cylinder engine with
Yes.
a 3-speed box in it.
Yep.
But just such a beautiful car.
That boat tail body on it.
Yeah, it is clearly. So here's the trick.
Yes.
Both these cars are estimated at up to $200,000.
Yes.
Or you'd have to be that tiny bit tempted if you had that sort of play money. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be quite content to sit in the garage with a glass of red
Yes.
and contemplate what the other lunatics who owned it over the decades had been doing with them or to them.
Yeah.
But could you imagine us taking them for a drive? That would be a very, very special occasion.
Oh, it would be. Well, in another departure.
In another
Yeah.
departure, yes. Look, we had to mention bikes because
Yes.
there's 38 of them. A very varied collection, some serious classics amongst them, a couple of Halewood replicas, for example. King of the heap, without question, of this particular batch, is a 1952 Series C Vincent Black Shadow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, okay. So
Would
it's
that be the original superbike, if you like?
very much so. Yeah,
Okay,
very
right.
much so. And it's again, in motorcycle world, it's one of those more or less gold-plated classics at the moment.
Right.
So this one's estimated 160 to 180.
Wow.
Huge Australian connection, of course, because Australian engineer Phil Irving was the genius behind much of the design.
Okay.
And they were very advanced for the day. Okay, they're a big V-twin, nothing so special about that. The Americans are building V-twins as well.
Right.
But this bike, for example, had a cantilever rear frame. The bikes were used extensively for competition for decades and decades and decades. So they have a huge race history, huge speed record history, all that sort of thing.
Right.
So there you go, serious collectible and serious money. As Higo's rightly pointed out, we're not making an estimate on a Honda because the last time we estimated a Honda, I think it sold for what, 3 times what we guessed?
Oh, at least,
Yeah,
yes.
okay,
Yeah.
so we're out, okay, but you know, S-Series Hondas, very nice.
Yeah.
The real point of this is just to mention that the auction is August 2 to 9. It's online, of course.
Yes.
Cars are located in Brisbane, Sydney and Melbourne. A lot to look through. It really is just worth having a bit of a gander at Shannons.
This has out-survived Concorde.
Yeah.
You know, supersonic flight. This has beaten supersonic flight. Just saying.